I've seen that. I've seen that here in Nevada. They drive all kinds of things around on our highways that you can barely imagine and probably don't want to know about. All right, west of the Rockies, you're on the air with Jim Keith. Hi.
Good morning, Art. Good morning, Jim. Thanks for taking my call. This is Richard in San Jose, California.
Yes.
And I had a situation back in the late 70s. I worked for an electronics company, and I was in shipping and receiving, and I was taking inventory. I was standing on one of these pallets. You know what a pallet is?
Sure.
And I fell through it, and I fell sideways and broke my ankle, and I'm stuck there. And I looked up, and I saw these two guys in black standing there. One was short, and it looked like they were taking inventory on me. I was wondering why I'm yelling, and why aren't you helping me? You know, why aren't these guys helping me? And they were standing. It was like a dream. I couldn't see any faces, but I saw they were in black. And next thing I knew, this little guy came running over, one of the guys that worked with me. And I'm a big guy. I was about 270 pounds, 6'2", and he lifted me right up, and my ankle was broke, and it was just dangling. But these guys were gone. And I heard Jim talk about earlier the trauma. This was definitely a trauma thing, you know. Mm-hmm. But I definitely saw these guys. So that was my.
That's your Men in Black story, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, I appreciate it. Before we let you get away, Jim, I have been instructed to ask you not to let you go without asking you about your work on something called Alternative 3, also known as Project Noah's Ark.
Mm-hmm.
Something about Jimmy Carter. What's all that?
Well, Jimmy Carter, what I reference in my book, Casebook on Alternative 3, I like the word casebook, apparently. Carter saw a UFO, and the way that keys in is that Alternative 3 was a hoax done on British TV in the mid-1970s. It's widely believed to be true, by UFO busts and so forth, but it was about a secret program of the elite to escape a dying Earth. And again, initially I thought this subject was just pure bunkum, but as I dug into this, I found that although there may not have been this specific Alternative 3 program, that every aspect of the program existed in one form or another. And so my Alternative 3 book, in a way, is a kind of an index to conspiracy, like secret space testing, government-built UFOs, mind control experiments, murdered scientists, that all happen to be put together in what was admittedly a hoax by the authors. It doesn't have a darn thing to do with Men in Black, but there it is.
How many books have you written?
Well, I've written quite a few. I have 7 out right now, but I think I've got 3 more in the pipeline. It's hard for me to keep track, but I'm very fast in terms of my writing. And before I got into writing about UFOs and conspiracy, I wrote a lot of horror and science fiction, and so I've really got to the point where I can knock those books out. I've got 7 out.
7. All right. The one we've been talking about tonight is Casebook. You said you like that word, on the Men in Black, and that just really involves gathering the stories together, and your conclusion after doing that with this book was there really is, and obviously, listening on the phones for these hours, there is something to this whole Men in Black business.
Yeah, I think you're tracking with essentially the same experience I had. When I first came into it, it seemed like the subject was almost laughable.
Yeah.
And I had really intended to do a debunking of the subject in the sense of saying, yeah, sure, the government does these Men in Black things, but the rest of this is hoax and delusion. But after going through hundreds of these cases,
exactly.
I found that I was convinced there were so many credible cases that are impossible. And I came to the conclusion that to grasp the truth about the Men in Black, you had to deal with the impossible.
So in other words, you went into it, even though you had a prejudice, you came out on the other end concluding there really is something to all of this. And I in all the years I've been doing talk radio, you hear occasionally about the Men in Black. Only occasionally. But the minute you actually open the lines, it's like right now, they're just blazing away. I mean, all these people have seen Men in Black. It's incredible. Why is there not, other than the popular comedy movie right now, and your book, Why have we not heard more about it in popular literature?
I think it's very hard to wrap your wits around the Men in Black and to really come up with an explanation for it. Like I said, in order for me to do so, I had to take a number of factors into consideration. I had to make that cut to say, yeah, a lot of these cases sound like government operations.
Yeah, but this hasn't stopped people from writing about UFOs, a similar difficult subject to broach in any forum. They do lots of that, but not lots of Men in Black, and yet there's lots of Men in Black stories.
Well, maybe if gray aliens wore top hats, we'd hear less about them. I mean, it would render it more incredible, and these stories are incredible, and you really don't expect to see a guy in a black cape, in your yard these days, much less to have him disappear. It's incredible.
All right, well, let's do it one more time. We're at the end of the hour, and I really appreciate your having come on the air, because this is another one of the... I love doing topics, Jim, that nobody else will do.
Fantastic. I enjoyed myself greatly.
So to get a copy of Men in Black, it's $14 and cents. How many?
$14.95.
$14.95.
And call 1-800-680-INET. That is 1-800-680-4638. And if you buy a copy of the book, the publisher will throw in a copy of their great catalog as well.
All right. Done deal. Jim, thank you.
Lovely to meet you, Art.
Take care. That, my friend, is Jim Keith. And casebook on the Men in Black. Ooh. All right. Well, ahead we've got nothing but open lines, on-screen talk radio. Anything you want to talk about, fair game. My book, The Quickening, is now in absolute general release. You ought to be able to find it about anywhere. Barnes & Noble bookstores would be a good place. Bookstop, B. Dalton, Borders Books, music stores, Walden's Books, wherever, you can find now The Quickening in general release. So pick your favorite bookstore and go in and get it. I think you will find it contains great proof of that which I've been discussing and talking about for years now. I'm Art Bell, and this is CBC. The British scientists who cloned Dolly the sheep said on Thursday they've made another, what they call, major advance by cloning Polly the lamb, who carries human genes. They showed a picture of Polly the lamb with the human genes on CNN. Polly has a pretty bizarre-looking face. It's a lamb, but it's not quite a lamb. Polly and 4 nearly identical sisters are transgenic. Transgenic. They are sheep carrying a human gene. Claimed the scientist managing director of therapeutics, the company that did this, quote, "It was what we told everybody we were going to do, but it's nice to be able to say that we've done it," end quote. Well, I don't know whether it's nice or not. I'm beginning to get a little concerned that all of this genetic research is going to reach a mass critical point. I mean, this is the stuff they're doing in public. What the hell do you think they're doing in private? Well, that leads me to story number 2. The following I have not concocted. It is from Reuters in London. Gene therapy could be twisted into terrifying genetic weapons that target and destroy ethnic groups. British doctors warned on Tuesday. The British Medical Association, remember this is Reuters, the British Medical Association is so worried by the possibility that it has commissioned a team of geneticists, biologists, lawyers, and warfare experts to see if the technology is possible, and if so, to ban it now. It is, said the doctor, Dr. Deveni, I believe it is, a particularly horrifying thought. If you were a dictator somewhere in the world, and you wanted to get rid of a group of people in your population who opposed you, whether you're talking about the Hutus, the Tutsis in Rwanda, Bosnian Serbs, or 1930s Germany, you could use this. So in other words, they simply let something loose that goes tearing through a particular ethnic group, kill them cleanly and quickly.